Okay, I just wanted to continue on and tell you a situation that's happening right now in my family. And I'm going to keep it brief and to the point. About, I would say it's been approximately 16 years ago. My younger, well, not my younger niece, but my sister that I speak about in a few videos back. As I told you all, my sister was, dealing with dope for over 20 years. And in dealing with dope, if you have children, the children sometimes go neglected. And I remember just as plain as if it was yesterday, one of my older sisters calling me, telling me, she's called me at work. I was sitting at my desk and she said, "Sis, guess who's back?" And I'm like, "Who's back from where?" She said, "Guess who's back?" I said, "From where? What are you talking about?" Well, what she was telling me is her daughter father had came back into her life. Now, her daughter, at the time her and this particular man broke up, her daughter was 9 months old. And this man called her back when her daughter was about 12 years old and told her he wanted to be a part of her life. And she asked me my opinion about it. And I told her, I said, well, that's her father. However, he wanted to have her come stay with him. I said, well, the child don't know this man. He's her biological father, but he's been gone since she was 9 months old. She doesn't know anything about it. Well, of course, she didn't listen to me, and she allowed her daughter to go stay with this man. And, I lived at that particular time about 80-something miles from her. And, she was, like I said, she was on that ooh-wee. And when a person on that kind of stuff, you can't tell them nothing. So, she went on and let her daughter go live there. Well, I'm going to skip ahead for a minute. Come to find out, this man had two other children, two other girls, and they came from the state of Arkansas. And apparently, I don't know anything about them nor their mother. Apparently, their mother allowed them to come and live with him. So from my understanding, and like I say, this has been 16 years ago, these two girls had been staying with him for about 2 years. One of them had a 1-year-old child and the other one was pregnant. I seen them twice because he ran a fast food restaurant. Well, hamburger stands. I don't know if you guys are familiar with hamburger stands in your state. But they're fast food hamburger where you go get the hamburger, french fries, shake, and stuff like that. Anyway, he had a little, in the back of it, he had an apartment in the back of his little hamburger stand, and that apparently is where he stayed. Well, I received a call one afternoon. I had just got off of work, after driving my job. I worked in the Los Angeles area, and I always lived where I'm living now, which is about 85 miles from Los Angeles. So once I got home, I had a message on my phone from my niece's school telling me that my niece was taken to the hospital and that they couldn't get in touch with my sister and that it was urgent. Well, back then, they didn't have cell phones. The only people with cell phones then was doctors and lawyers and things like that. They had those mobile phones in the car, but people like us, we didn't have no damn phone. We didn't. But anyway, so I couldn't get in touch with my sister after calling her house. Finally, I drove to the hospital, which was about 100 miles from where I lived at that time. Once I got to the hospital, her dad was there, the detectives was there, child social services was there. My little niece was, I believe she's like 13 years old, and she was pregnant. And I'm like, pregnant? And what had happened, she had abdominal pains at school and had started bleeding, spotting, as they say back then, and they had to take her to the hospital. And so they were trying to get in touch with my sister, and I guess they did because she showed up with some old raggedy-ass Negro she was with at that particular time. And, they were trying to find out, who she was pregnant by at age 13. Well, y'all, long story short, and y'all know y'all hear it coming, the father had impregnated her. Her father had impregnated her. Not only did this man impregnate her, but the daughter that had the 1-year-old child, he was the father of that baby, and that girl was about 17 years old. And then the other one, which was about 15 years old, that was pregnant, and she was kind of heavy set. So, you know, you couldn't tell the difference between the pregnancy, the gut, or the pregnancy. But she looked to me back then to be about 6 months pregnant. So they couldn't terminate her pregnancy because she was so far gone. But the father had pregnated all 3 of his daughters. Isn't that sick? My niece included. Well, the state of California ended up giving my niece an abortion. And, you know, she's been having some psychological scars from that ever since then. They sent the man to prison. I went to court a couple of times, and, you know, I wanted to testify. Actually, I wanted to shoot. I wanted to do like they do in the movies. You know, shoot that fucker. Oops, sorry about that. Shoot that sucker right in the face, right in court. But they sentenced him to about 25 years. And you know what? That fool just got out of prison this year. And somehow my niece, after all these years, you know, dealing with that MySpace, Facebook, and all that stuff, I don't have any of those accounts, so y'all never see me on that mess. YouTube is about as deep as I go. But anyway, one of the girls Googled her name and found her on Facebook. And upon finding her on Facebook, this is one of the sisters, you know, that you know, was pregnant by the father. They never did, from what I'm understanding, go back to Arkansas. They remain here in California. Anyway, I think the one that was 15, from what I'm understanding now, put the baby up for adoption, but the other one kept her baby. But anyway, the father served, you know, from 16 years ago, and I believe this happened, and I want to say about 1991 was the year, if our memory serves me correctly. So yeah, as you can see, it's been some years. So anyway, my niece got in touch with her, you know, stepsisters, and they told her that I won't even say daddy, that man was out of prison. And my niece wanted to meet him. Why? I don't understand. Now, I spoke with my niece week before last, and boy, oh boy, we had the biggest argument in the world, because I asked her, why would you want to see this man? He's my daddy. I said, this man then impregnated you at 12, 13 years old, and your stepsisters, and you want to see this pedophile? Are you serious? Now, see, I never liked any of my sisters. My sister know, you know, when she see this video, all she do is say, there you go again, because she know I ain't going to stop doing what I'm doing. But I've never liked any of the men she ever been with, because all of the men she been with had to do with her era of drugs and, you know, alcohol and all that stuff. So y'all know what kind of Negroes come with that kind of situation. They all throw together and throw it all back, Negroes. I don't have time for all them trifling ass fools. But anyway, I never liked this fool either. He was the big gorilla. I call him a gorilla in the mist, because y'all, he got gums out of this world. Big back, ugly. And from what I'm hearing, they say he's about 300 and something pounds right now. Oof, I can only imagine what he's looking like. Now, my niece, he's living downtown Los Angeles on Skid Road. He was paroled to some kind of parole house down there. And my niece have taken her daughter over to this man's house. And my sister, nobody wants to give me the address. Nobody wants to tell me anything. Now, my sister, like I said, she's off of drugs now. So she's back to her normal self. So I just asked her just this past weekend, because she had a party over her house. I said, why don't y'all tell me where this fool live? Please let me know. See, I can go on the internet and Google his name, because I know his name. And part of his parole is he's not supposed to be around my niece. Although my niece is grown, she's 30 years old, she can make that decision. But his parole, he's not supposed to be around her, less than I don't take her daughter around this man. And I just came wind of this woman back with this man 3 weeks ago, and then just found out this past weekend that she didn't came and seen him, matched up and, you know, went over there and seen him. Y'all, you know, this is a new one for me, so I'm at a loss, because you know what Auntie get ready to do. This fool going back to prison. You know, he is going back to prison. I'm going to keep y'all posted, because I'm going to work on this situation. I'm going to call the State Department of Parole, and this fool going back to prison because my niece, his daughter, you know, by sperm donor.